Am I the antagonist for pointing out the injustice in someone's divorce expectations? My girlfriend's cousin is getting divorced from her husband she married in secret a few years ago. It was never a great match, so their divorce is not surprising. They both live in the house that he owns, which he had before they got married. After a few years, they started having problems, and the cousin, Jay, bought a house in her own name, initially to rent out. But it became clear that she intended to move into it. When she went to sign the contract with her husband, H, he went with her. During the meeting with the solicitor, they discussed making a will and brought up the house that H owned and where they both lived. H claimed that it was his house, and Jay wasn't entitled to any share of it. This surprised Jay. The solicitor, under UK law, explained that because they were married, Jay would indeed be entitled to a share. This caused an argument when H insisted that because he bought the house before marrying Jay, he expected to keep the entire ownership. The solicitor stood firm that being married meant Jay had a right to a share. H disagreed and threatened to fight her for it if necessary. Jay was very upset and considered this act of selfishness by H as the final straw, leading to their decision to get a divorce. Jay shared this story, expecting to take half of H's house while keeping full ownership of the house she just bought. I reminded her, like the solicitor did, that being married entitled her to half of H's house, but it also meant H could claim half of hers. In other words, if she expects to get half of his house, she should also be prepared to give up half of hers. She was shocked and disagreed with this logic for some reason. I pointed out that the law applies to both genders and questioned why the man should have to give up half of his house while the woman doesn't have to. Unfortunately, I ended up being seen as the villain. Jay, my girlfriend, and my mother-in-law all shouted me down, claiming I was wrong. I tried to emphasize that if I was wrong, then Jay's solicitor was also wrong. Am I really in the wrong here? You were simply pointing out the legal reality to Jay, which is that if she expects to take half of her husband's house in the divorce, she should also be prepared to split her own house with him. It is important to remind people of the fairness and equality in the law, regardless of gender. However, it is understandable that Jay and others may have felt defensive or upset when confronted with this reality. It would have been more considerate to approach the topic with empathy and understanding, rather than leading to an argument. Am I the antagonist for refusing to help my siblings out with their debt? I have 6 siblings, and my family is from a foreign country. I'll use fake names for privacy reasons. Kate is 23. Sam and Eric are 24, Lois is 19, and Haley is 17. This story may seem fake, but I genuinely am thinking about getting restraining orders. I'm looking for judgment only, so please focus on that. It may seem irrelevant, but I'm going to explain how things started. Growing up, I had a dysfunctional family. It would take one thing, like my father getting fired, for him to lash out on all of us and start a big fight. I was the only one who didn't participate in the arguments and just kept to myself. At 15, I started working while all my other siblings didn't, and I kept it a secret. 2 months into my job, my entire family showed up and started screaming about how I was a selfish kid who didn't give back to the family by hiding my money and buying myself things. I got fired after the second time they caused an incident. It's unbelievable that they didn't care about where I went every other day for 6 hours. My mom came home with an angry look on her face and screamed about the fact that we were behind on rent to my dad. He yelled back at her, and then my siblings got involved. Things got so bad that my grandparents had to step in and said that they would take one child away from the house to lessen the financial burden and help us out. They told us to vote, and I was shocked that they all picked me. I was both upset and happy I was leaving. That was all 2 years ago. Now I work 2 jobs to save up for a good school and live with my grandparents, who are the nicest people I've met. At my workplace, I sustained severe burns after slipping in front of a fryer. The company I was working with was very persistent on me not pressing charges, and my grandparents urged me to settle for an amount of money, around $250,000. I'm still working at that job. All the money is with my grandparents, who haven't touched any of it, and are waiting for my birthday in a couple of months. My aunt, who was visiting, asked why I had some scars on my neck and upper back. I explained the incident to her and didn't think about it after that. 2 days later, my entire family showed up at my grandparents' door acting like we were friends. They started a conversation, and it eventually shifted into them asking for $45,000 for some things, saying that it was nice the family had some good money saved. I laughed and said that the money belonged to me and that they weren't getting any of it. This started a loud argument, bringing back memories of the toxic environment. I locked myself in my room and called the police while they banged on my door and yelled at me. I also called my grandparents, who quickly came with the police and escorted them out. My mom said I was a problem child who never made her happy. My siblings sent me insults and threats, but I screenshotted all of it and ignored them. A couple of aunts called me a brat. The whole family is doing a get-together this Friday, and I'm worried about what's going to happen. Am I the asshole? You have faced a lot of adversity within your family, including being blamed for financial issues, getting fired from a job due to your family's behavior, and being chosen by your grandparents to live with them. Additionally, you experienced a traumatic incident at work, and your family tried to take advantage of your settlement money. Your family's behavior towards you, including demanding money from you and threatening you, is completely unjustified. It is understandable that you called the police and sought assistance from your grandparents to handle the situation. In this case, it is important to prioritize your own well-being and safety. If you feel that getting a restraining order will help protect you from your toxic and abusive family, then it may be necessary to do so. Am I the antagonist for stating no pets at my wedding? I'm getting married next year in an outdoor nature reserve with a barn. The venue has a policy that does not allow dogs, unless it is our own dog who they have met before to ensure good behavior. However, our dog is a rescue and is still a bit anxious around new people, so we have decided it is best for her to stay home with a sitter and have a dog-free wedding. We recently sent out save the dates, and my cousin contacted me, asking if we had forgotten to include his dog's name on the invitation. The problem is, his dog is not well trained at all. It jumps on people, barks and whines constantly for attention, has severe separation anxiety, and has been known to nip when excited. This is purely my cousin's responsibility for not properly training his high-energy breed. If we were to invite any dog, this would be the last one I would choose due to its unsuitable behavior for a loud and stressful group event. I replied to my cousin, explaining that we cannot have dogs at the wedding. He became upset and asked if I expected him to pay for additional expenses like a new suit, travel, hotel, and a weekend at a kennel. He refused to come if his dog was not invited, as his dog's separation anxiety prevents him from being left with anyone else. I was frustrated, but I responded by understanding the financial strain and expressing my disappointment if he couldn't make it, while suggesting we catch up another time. He never replied, so I left it at that. I didn't think I did anything wrong initially, but now multiple family members are hassling me, claiming I am being stubborn for not making an exception for this one dog. My mom's argument is that if we aren't bringing our dog, my cousin's dog should be allowed. They believe I am causing a huge family feud, accusing me of being a bridezilla. I can be clueless at times, so I am open to apologizing if I am truly in the wrong. Am I the asshole in this situation? It is completely reasonable for you to prioritize the well-being and comfort of your guests. Your cousin's dog's behavior, as you described, could potentially cause a lot of stress and disruption at the event. It is not fair for your cousin to expect you to make an exception for his untrained dog when other guests are abiding by the rules. You handled the situation maturely by explaining the situation and expressing understanding for the potential difficulties your cousin may face in attending the wedding. It is unfortunate that he reacted negatively, but you cannot be held responsible for his reaction. Your family members who are pressuring you to make an exception should respect your decision as it is your special day. It is not fair for them to label you as a bridezilla or give you grief for enforcing the rules set by the venue. Am I the antagonist for telling my mom our relationship strain is her fault? I recently moved back to my parents' house, 22-year-old female, for my final year of college to save money. Since all my classes are online this semester and next, it seemed like a logical choice. My boyfriend and I are sexually active, and we recently acquired some new sex-related items, restraints and handcuffs, over the past few months. I stored them in a separate small box labeled private, do not open. I'm grateful that my mom and stepdad respected my privacy during the move, allowing me to handle the box myself without asking questions or touching it. After we finished moving, my boyfriend and I grabbed food while my parents headed home and placed my boxes in my room. It's been 2 months, and I've been rearranging my boxes now that I'm settling in. This morning, while my family was at work, I noticed the private box had been tampered with. I immediately approached my mom because she's the only one I suspect of looking inside. Initially denying it, she eventually admitted to snooping. Her reason was to see if I was using drugs, but upon discovering the contents, she closed it back up without mentioning it to anyone. Later today, I had my aunt, who is a nurse, administer my birth control shot. When I returned home, my mom was on a speakerphone call with my aunt and casually mentioned, "Yeah, she just got back from seeing you." My aunt then made a joke about my boyfriend and me using our sex-related items now that I had received my shot. My mom swiftly removed the call from speaker and abruptly ended the conversation. Confused and embarrassed, I asked my mom what that was about. She became angry and defended her actions, asserting that she has a right to search through my belongings, especially since I'm living under her roof, regardless of my age. I argued that this invasion of privacy was unacceptable and that there should be mutual respect between two adults. Unfortunately, she disagreed, stating that I would never have full privacy as an adult because she is my mom. At this point, I fear I crossed a line. I confronted her, explaining that her attitude is precisely why I never opened up to her about personal traumas, and my 16-year-old sister feels the same way. I expressed that her tendency to disclose our confided information or discover it through snooping is a significant reason why I no longer share details of my life with her unless necessary. My mom became extremely upset, burst into tears, and accused me of being cruel for blaming her and making her feel like a bad mother. My stepdad chimed in, suggesting that I was unfair to her by putting the blame on her. Conversely, my sister agreed that it was the truth and that our mom needed to hear it. Am I the asshole in this situation? You are not the a-hole in this situation. Your mom clearly violated your privacy by going through your private box without your permission. Just because you're living under her roof doesn't mean she has the right to invade your personal space. It's important to establish boundaries, even within a family dynamic. Your mom's excuse for looking through your things, under the pretense of checking for drugs, is not valid. Snooping through your belongings without your consent is a breach of trust. Furthermore, your mom's habit of sharing personal information with others, as you mentioned, is another invasion of privacy. It's understandable that you and your sister may have difficulty opening up to her because of this. Expressing your feelings about this issue isn't being an asshole. It's a valid response to her actions. Your stepdad may have a different perspective, but your sister's support and validation show that your mom's actions have affected more than just you. It's essential for your mom to understand the consequences of her actions and the impact they have on your relationship with her. Overall, you have the right to privacy, and it's important to communicate your boundaries and feelings to your mom. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister her kid is terrible and she needs to start being a good parent? I, a 23-year-old female, have a sister who is 34 years old. About 8 years ago, my sister got married, and shortly after she announced her pregnancy. She had a baby boy whom we will call Cameron. Since my sister finished her maternity leave, my mom and I have been taking care of Cameron. Lately, my sister has been attending a lot of parties. Initially, I didn't mind because I understand that it can be challenging to have a child and go back to work as if nothing has changed. However, recently, 8-year-old Cameron has been really irritating me. He insults my mom's cooking, refuses to do his homework, and speaks badly about my sister, his mom, since she is rarely around. One night, while I was working on a draft for my English essay, I had to leave my room to get something from the store. When I returned, I found that my computer was shut off with a sticky note saying, I wanted to play Roblox with my friends. I panicked and opened my computer only to find that all my hard work was gone. I'm still in college and have been studying diligently, but I have to sacrifice my time to take care of my sister's child. What's worse is that her husband is a workaholic and refuses to take care of Cameron, even for a moment. Now I have a major test coming up, and neither of them wants to take responsibility for their own child. I still haven't registered for the test, and I only have 2 more days to do so. My sister has been packing for a huge trip to Miami and insists on leaving Cameron at my mom and me for the duration. At this point, I had reached my limit. I didn't want to jeopardize my future just to cater to my sister's desire to have fun. I understand that she needs a break, but I need one too, especially as I am still working towards my goal of obtaining the education needed for my desired job. Yesterday, I went to my sister's house and dropped off her child. She immediately yelled at me, saying she was going out and couldn't take Cameron, so I had to watch him. I turned around and yelled back, telling her to stop being selfish and to pay more attention to her child. Her child hardly knows her name, which is absurd. She came over, nudged me, and begged me to watch Cameron, emphasizing that this party was the most important one in her life. I pushed her away and started ranting about everything that had been causing me stress. I told her that she needed to be there for her child, become a genuine parent instead of being an absent mother to a child who acts just like her. Then I stormed off and drove away. Today, my sister hasn't brought Cameron to my mom and me. I'm enjoying the peace, and have finally filled out the necessary paperwork to schedule my test. I'm studying and using my time efficiently now, but I can't help but wonder if what I said was too harsh. Am I the asshole? You have been helping your sister by watching her child while she goes to parties and neglects her responsibilities as a parent. It's understandable that you have your own life, goals, and exams to focus on, and it's unfair for your sister to expect you to constantly watch her child without considering your needs. While it may not have been ideal to yell and shove your sister, it's clear that you were frustrated and stressed out due to the constant burden of looking after her child. Your outburst might have been a result of built-up resentment and the feeling of being taken advantage of. However, it would be a good idea to apologize for your aggressive behavior and have a calm conversation with your sister about setting boundaries and finding a better solution that benefits both of you. Your sister needs to prioritize her role as a parent and spend more time with her child. Neglecting him and expecting others to take care of him is not fair to anyone involved. It's important for her to understand that her child's well-being should come before her desire for fun and parties. In future situations, it would be helpful to establish clear communication about your availability and set boundaries with your sister to ensure that your own goals and responsibilities are not compromised. Would I be the antagonist if I told my friend he can't have his kids over anymore while I'm working? I work from home, which is an important detail. Recently, my friend lost his house in a fire. His girlfriend is one of my best friends, and I have a soft spot for his kids, despite their less-than-ideal behavior. He is receiving assistance from various sources, and over the weekend, his kids stayed with a relative while he stayed with me and my partner to save money on hotels. Before the fire, he used to do his laundry at my place, and when the hot water was unavailable, he and his kids would come over to shower. Since the fire, I offered him the option of cooking for his kids at my place and taking the food home. When I have time off from work, I invite them all over for dinner so they can avoid staying in a hotel room. Today, he was on his way to pick up his kids and check into his hotel room. He kindly offered to drop off my partner at work, and my partner gave him the apartment key since he would be returning to retrieve some belongings while I was at work and unable to unlock the door. Even when we previously gave him or his girlfriend a spare key for certain purposes, I always emphasized the importance of letting me know if they would be coming in while I was working. Due to the fact that I work from home and it is my personal space, I prefer to be informed before someone enters. However, today he did not inform me that he would be returning, nor did he give me a heads up, even though he was fully aware of my request. He simply used the key my partner gave him and entered without letting me know. Not only did he bring his own 3 kids, but he also brought one of their friends. They arrived and started making food without notifying me in advance, and the kids were loud and discipline was being loudly enforced. I feel that my frustration is justified, but I am unsure. I understand that he is going through a lot right now. However, during my own times of desperation, when I had to rely on the kindness of others, I never disregarded established rules or treated someone else's home as my own. I feel that I have already been very supportive of my friend even before the fire, and his actions are somewhat disrespectful. I have decided that I need to have a conversation with him about boundaries and communication. I will inform him that moving forward, he is not permitted to have any of the kids over while I'm working. Would it be wrong of me to do this? While it's important to be compassionate and understanding towards your friend who is going through a difficult time, it doesn't give him the right to disregard your home and your boundaries. You have been kind enough to offer him support and assistance during this challenging period, and it's not unreasonable to expect some basic communication and respect in return. It's entirely reasonable for you to address this issue with him and establish clear boundaries going forward, especially when it comes to noise and having the kids over while you're working. It's important to maintain a healthy balance between helping a friend and maintaining your own work-life boundaries. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.